Mom who strangled infant son and drove around with body for several hours says parenting was the best 2 months of her life. A 31-year-old woman in Colorado will spend several decades behind bars for killing her 2-month-old, strangling the infant to death while in the throes of postpartum psychosis. Boulder County District Court Judge Thomas Mulvihill on Wednesday ordered Anna Louise England to serve a sentence of 40 years in a state correctional facility for the 2023 slaying of young Miles Basello. This is what the attorney Michael Doherty said. This guilty plea and lengthy sentence is the right result in this very sad case. It is heartbreaking to acknowledge the immense emotional toll on the baby's father and family, as well as all the police officers who desperately tried to prevent this tragic murder. Our prosecution team worked hard to ensure that we were able to secure the right outcome for this defendant, which is a very lengthy sentence to state prison. England's defense attorney, Lauren Bennett, argued during Wednesday's proceedings that the mental health care system failed both Mrs. England and her infant son. Bennett added that England loved her son and family and still experiences a great sense of regret and remorse for what happened. And this is what England said reportedly. All I can recall was that I had bizarre auditory and visual hallucinations. I didn't sleep and then I started to have violent hallucinations. Adding to the already tragic circumstances of the case, England has told the court she agreed to plead guilty and go to prison to ensure that she could no longer harm her husband, saying her time parenting Miles with him was the best 2 months of her life. Before the hallucinations began, was the best 2 months of her life. He kept our son safe. He was very cautious about not leaving Miles with me. I convinced him and myself I was okay, but I was still in psychosis. I'm so sorry that I took fatherhood away from him and left a hole in his life. As previously reported, police on June 10th responded to England's home to conduct a welfare check on a woman who was possibly having a mental health crisis. Witnesses told police that England had taken her infant son from the home and driven away. Prosecutors said that England waited until the child's father went to the bathroom, then sneaked out of the house with Miles and drove to a location where she killed him. England's whereabouts remained a mystery for several hours. After an attempt to locate, an alert was issued. Investigators said England was found shortly after 10 p.m. that evening parked in the lot of the Boulder Community Health Foothills Hospital. Miles was also in the vehicle and rushed to the emergency room, where he was admitted in critical condition. The medical staff was unable to resuscitate him, and he was pronounced dead at 10:48 p.m. She told police she had only driven a few blocks from her home where she put Miles in her lap and strangled him, telling police it was because I didn't want him to suffer in life like I have. Prosecutors said after killing her son, England drove around with the boy's body for several hours. A human microchip implant, any electronic device implanted subdermally, usually via an injection. Examples include an identifying integrated circuit RFID device encased in silicate glass, which is implanted in the body of a human being. I'm all in favor of freedom. Everybody knows that. But when we have a case like this involving somebody with postpartum psychosis, which the symptoms include delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, incoherent speech, and/or abnormal motor behavior, confusion, disorganized thought, severe difficulty of sleeping, variations of mood disorders, depression, agitation, mania, something has to be done about that. It says it right here in the article. He was very cautious about not leaving Miles with me. So it was obvious that the symptoms were there and they were present, and he knew something was wrong. You have to understand, when you have a situation like that with a mentally unwell person, and you have an infant in that household, and the mentally unwell person could potentially harm or do worse to that infant, something has to be done. In situations like that, we need to have live feed into that person's house at all time. It can't be shut off. And this person with a mental disorder, postpartum psychosis, they need to have the chip implanted in them, so if they do run off, we would know exactly where they are. Attempt to locate is not good. We don't want attempts to locate. The birth rate is down at an all-time low already. We don't need any more babies dying due to mentally unwell people. If you're dealing with a mentally unwell person and you happen to have a child or children in the house and something like this could potentially happen, you gotta have live access into your home 24/7. We gotta implant the chip into the mentally unwell person, and we have to try to prevent this from happening any way we can. And as far as I'm concerned, those are the best two options we have. That's my fault. I probably should have looked this up first. You can get them immediate treatment in a hospital. A combination of the right medications can help. Electroconvulsive therapy. Psychological therapies too. Okay, ignore what I said about the chip implant and the live feed. Okay, I started off with two extreme things we can do, and then I finished off with something you should do, which is not as extreme. But I guess those would be extra steps. We don't know how long electroshock therapy or the combination of medication, we don't know how long that stuff will take. So live access into the house 24/7, chip implant, just a backup. We just need to ensure 100% that this does not happen anymore.